All right. Welcome, folks, to the webinar for this month. We're going to give folks just a few more minutes to filter in. My name is Philip Fulcher. I'll be moderating today's webinar with Jeff and Madeline. While we're waiting for everybody to get here in the chat, go ahead and let us know what is your favorite holiday meal and where are you in the world? We've got Thanksgiving coming up in the US, so you can choose like a holiday meal from, any part of the year. I know we've got like people all across the world celebrate different holidays, but I want to know holiday comes around, what food are you excited about? Jeff, what are you excited about at the holidays?
Okay. I like the traditional stuff like turkey, mashed potatoes. On Thanksgiving, I like to make caramel apples. I make my own caramel. I bought
Okay,
this fancy pot for making candy in that maintains like a constant temperature and like all this stuff that it's just
sure.
really a really fun process to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably do it. I just did it
Okay.
last month when my mom was in
Okay.
town, but I can do it
Mm-hmm.
again.
Do you buy enough apples to do like apple bobbing?
We're anti-apple bobbing.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
anti. I had a bad experience as a kid.
Oh no. We'll
What
save
did you
that for
what?
another webinar or
Yes, you have to come back to the webinar in December to find the end of Jeff's traumatic apple bobbing experience.
Yeah, it's
Um,
gross though. Be
oh
warned.
no. Oh no.
Great.
Jeff, I love that you brought up treats because I'm a fan of all food. I love Thanksgiving dinner. I love anything anybody's going to cook for dinner. But I have a strong opinion on the treats and desserts. I'm just not a
Mm.
pie person.
Mm.
Yeah,
Whoa,
like
that is
really just
spicy.
not my thing. I think a nice flourless chocolate cake is the perfect
Okay.
holiday dessert,
I mean, that's a good choice, but I think
right?
especially like for me for Thanksgiving, like if there's not a pumpkin pie like in the
Mm,
house, I feel like it's wrong. Like it's off balance. Like something's gone wrong.
interesting.
My wife is
What?
the bake My
No,
wife is
sorry.
the baker in the family, so she makes pies and I make like the rest of the Thanksgiving meal. And she always makes like more pies than is strictly necessary for the number of people there. But there's always like a pumpkin pie. My kids like chocolate pie, which is
Mm,
pretty untraditional, but they're into it. And then it's like a choice between like a pecan pie or an apple pie.
right.
But it's pies like front to back. Like there's no
I
other dessert
can't,
option.
I know pies everywhere. I mean, it's good, but
You don't
like,
like the shape of it, or
the
like
Yeah,
shape doesn't
what's
if there
bother
was
me
a
too
pie-shaped
much.
flourless chocolate cake, would you eat that?
I think a flourless chocolate cake is still the shape of a pie, kind of. They're circular. I
okay.
do expect pies to have like beautiful crust and designs on them. Like if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
do a pie, go all out, and then I'll be impressed with your presentation. So I think I love the shape of the pie.
But I refuse to eat it.
Yeah, just, if I'm going to put like a delicious dessert, and I'm a huge dessert baker
Mm-hmm.
person, it's just got to be like some dense chocolate.
I
Mm.
used to make a dessert it was like a three chocolate cake where it would be a flourless dark chocolate espresso on the bottom, a milk chocolate mousse on top, and then a white chocolate mousse. So it's like this great little color gradient, and then you'd like
Amazing.
sprinkle powdered sugar on
That sounds
top.
pretty nice.
You need like
Oh,
a
I
clear
coconut.
cake dish to like
Mhm.
showcase I guess you just put it on a plate and then
It
you
would
get to
like
see
it
it
would like
all.
pop out, like it would be
Yeah.
completely set like in a springform pan, and
Oh,
then you would take
nice.
it out of that and you get the full experience.
Beautiful.
Um uh who wants to like knock off and just like go get like lunch now? Because I'm starving after that.
You're
Little
welcome.
Um
espresso and a piece of pie.
ooh,
I think
espresso and
this
a
will be
piece of pie.
recorded so you can watch it later, Philip.
All right, I'll pop out. You guys go, and
We
then
need you,
I'll
Philip.
I'll I'll just go get lunch. All right. So, great hearing about everybody's holiday treats. But let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the compounding effect webinar this month from NX. Like I said before, I'm Philip Fulcher. I'll be moderating, and then Jeffrey Cross, who's our CEO, and Madeline Hennessy, our VP of Sales, will be taking you through the presentation. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the meat of it. First of all, this webinar is being recorded, and you'll get a link with the recording tomorrow. And anything that we mention, like resources, like videos or articles, we'll be including that in the email that is sent out. So you shouldn't miss out on anything. The other thing is that we will be running a live Q&A at the end of the presentation, and we're going to be using Zoom's Q&A functionality for that. So if you look all the way down at the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a little Q&A button where you can send questions to us. That is the best way to get questions to us. Don't put them in the chat. Use this Q&A so that we can see everyone and we can tick them off as we kind of go through those. Finally, we will also be running a few polls during this presentation, which is again a feature down at the bottom of your window in Zoom. And it should pop up whenever we're ready to ask you those questions. So get your responses in quickly when those come up, because we'll be discussing the results live. Thank you very much for all your cooperation. Thank you for showing up and sharing your time with us. And without further ado, Jeff and Madeline, take it away.
Thank you, Philip. All right, let's kick this off. I'm sharing my screen. Madeline, can you see my screen? Is it letterbox? Like, are you seeing black on the bottom and top?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
let me stretch this and see if I can make it a little fuller. Okay, is it better now?
That looks great. Yep. We do see your
Okay,
tabs at the top, but the screen looks great.
okay. And I'll be going to those tabs later.
Lovely.
I'll close this one of me trying to figure out how to use my camera. All right, so great to be here with you. I'll let Madeline introduce herself in a second. I'm Jeff. I'm the CEO, one of the founders of NX. Been going at this for about 9 years. I'm a software engineer by background, and I love performance, and that's why I'm excited for today's topic. Madeline, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Madeline Hennessy, VP of Sales for NX. I'm very excited to be here and just help you all understand the problems that we are helping our customers solve. My background is in DevOps tooling primarily, but I also have some experience with observability tools and data tooling. So I care a lot about giving folks business insights, being able to make some decisions to help their teams move faster. So thanks for being here.
Yep. All right, let's get into it. We're going to start with some polls to get an idea where folks are at. And this one is easy. How long have you been using NX? Have you just started using it? You're not using it yet. That's fine. And you're welcome here. Are you an OG? Have you been using it for over 5 years? The first announcement of NX was, I think, October 1st, 2017. And so if you say more than 8 years, then I think you might be lying. Unless you're like working here and you knew about it before we announced it. All right, so it looks like we've got the results in, and okay, we've got it right in the middle, about 1 to 3 years with some OGs, four who've been using it for a while,
Nice.
5 been using it a long time. Great to see, and great to see folks that aren't using it yet. Hopefully we'll convince you to give it a try today.
Yeah. Thank you all. That's really helpful information for us. Almost 6 years in the chat. That's great. The reason we ask this is we want to kind of get a gauge of where you all are in your adoption journey of NX. Many engineering orgs that we work with, they tend to implement remote cache as their starting point. What you can see with implementing remote cache is you immediately get some performance gains. You're going to impact your CI times, those will start to drop. Your build times will start to speed up. But this is just the starting point with NX. This is not the end point with NX, and we want to walk you through all of the additional functionality that we can provide. So the special sauce in our remote cache is really that we don't just cache files, we cache the terminal outputs so it looks like your tasks ran again. Also, we automatically cache at the task level. And this is a really huge impact for our customers because generic CI tools cannot do this. So we automatically cache at the task level. Thirdly, we create versioned artifacts for you all based on a variety of your inputs. We're not just caching a folder between runs. So that's the special sauce, and this ensures that our customers are getting some of the highest cache hit rates across the industry. So I'm going to hand it over to Jeff. He's going to walk you through the compounding value that you receive with our features as you build on top of your remote cache with NX using our platform. And throughout that, we'll talk about different problems we solve.
Thanks, Madeline. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show off our fancy new analytics dashboard here, just a tease. But the point here is like this is an example of a workspace that's oops, I think I messed up that screenshot. But yeah, so this is an example of a workspace that's getting a good value from cache, but also getting some value from other parts of NX. But many workspaces that we'll see later are also just cache and leaving lots of gains on the table. So let me talk about the day in the life of a developer. I used to be a developer and still kind of am, so I'm speaking from experience, but bear with me. So you write code. I assume that's what developers do all day. They write code, they push it, and then you push it to CI, wait for it to run, wait for it to tell you that everything's good, wait for it to go green so that it can be merged. But while you go to CI, then you start working on something else while waiting for CI. So you'll go to feature B, you'll start working on that, and at some point you'll get notified that CI fails. And then you have to take a look at it, what happened, totally lose the focus or flow I had on feature B, fix it, hope it goes well, push it again, and hopefully CI succeeds this time. We call everything in this box time to green, and that's really what we focus on with the whole platform is not just making the CI really fast and like make your job finish quickly, but let's get the whole experience of getting to green much better. And we'll talk about ways beyond just pure build performance that we do to achieve that.
Awesome. So Jeff just walked you through a day in the life of a developer. I'm not a developer. He's got that genuine experience there, but I talk with a lot of developers. So we just want to give you a different point of view of how to think about this. So Jeff, if you can build the first action on this slide. So we are going to give you this view of what we think it should look like for a day in the life. So this first pipeline here, you have this developer, like we mentioned, they're juggling multiple tasks in parallel. When we look at their day, they run their code. Here's what we see happen as you saw this pipeline build out. And this pipeline is a visual of what is happening on the previous slide that Jeff walked through. If you can just take one action, Jeff, and build the next pipeline. With the adoption of NX, we're trying to minimize the reruns, eliminate all of your redundancies, and ultimately reduce the waste that's happening from build to production. So here's what our ideal developer experience looks like. You can write your code, you run your code. It can self-heal, which we're going to talk about more. Jeff will talk about this a bit later. And now you're ready to merge to production. So how do we get there? We're going to walk you through, again, all of the different features and functionalities in the next platform that give you this experience in the bottom that we believe is the ideal developer experience, eliminating those redundancies, eliminating your disruptions, and giving you, kind of the best day in the life that we can.
Yep. All right. And that actually brings us to our next poll. Because we're going to talk about time to green. That's a thing you'll hear more and more from us today and going forward that we've really landed on being the metric that we care most about. But what metrics do you wish you had visibility into? And then what metric do you want to improve? Oh, I didn't know you could do 2 polls simultaneously. I thought it was like back-to-back polls. Mm-hmm. So what metrics do you wish you had visibility, and what metrics do you most want to improve?
Yeah, I see a lot of folks with that task and cycle time. Talk about it a lot.
All right, it looks like, okay, still a couple coming in. But yeah, looking like, well, it's interesting, like deployment frequency is what wants to be improved, but time to merge and change lead time are the ones that you want visibility into. Presumably, you've got good visibility into deployment frequency. That is somewhat of a concrete number to measure. All right, great insights. So I'm going to talk about the NX platform. If you've been around a while, you know a lot of these things about all the things that work together, but maybe you'll learn something new today. So first, the OG feature of NX is running affected commands. So we look at what you've changed and what things could be broken by that change based on dependency relationships. And we only run the tasks that could be broken, that the tasks that you've changed or could be broken. And so we filter out immediately a lot of work for a lot of pull requests. And then the second line of defense is our remote cache replay that Madeline already mentioned, where we share your cache. We cache based on lots of inputs, like what task are you running, what's your environment, what other inputs do you give it, and then we see if we can replay that cache that task next time you run it. And if so, we just download and replay the files that come out of it and the terminal output that comes out of it. And now we get into distribution. And the step before we actually distribute work across your CI agents is we atomize whatever tasks we can. And this is a pretty common optimization for end-to-end tests, where you can just enable it and we'll split your end-to-end tests up by file so that they can be actually distributed across many agents, even if it's a monolithic end-to-end task that would otherwise take 18 minutes or something to run the whole thing. And that feeds into our distribution, which uses NX agents. So NX agents, it looks at a lot of factors. It knows the history of your workspace. It knows the relationships of projects and tasks, knows how long tasks take, and knows which ones need to be run now. And it figures out how to provision your machine pool for you, and then how to split the work across all those agents in the most optimal way to get them to all finish at as close to the same time as possible. And you can see in this little video, let's make that higher quality. This is an example of the analysis of inside NX Cloud that you can see. You hover over different tasks, but you can see like there's lots of small little slices of tasks that are being distributed in a way where there's very little idle time and they finish around the same time. A very cool optimization, if I do say so myself. If anyone has been using Windows since like the 90s, you probably have used the defrag tool at some point, and this kind of reminds me of that, like seeing the bits move around and get better and faster. So that's kind of where we make the transition from purely CI performance, which is really important. And like Madeline said, we do things that no other CI tool could do because of our deep understanding of your code, of your team, of your workspace, of your tasks. But that's not all that goes into getting something ready to merge. There's also when something goes wrong, maybe it's a flake, maybe it's a test that just flakes 10% of the time or half the time. It could fail your whole CI job, and you don't want to have to go back and rerun the whole thing again just because something flaked. So our self-healing deflaking will automatically track which tasks are flaky based on like if the same task runs at roughly the same circumstances as it had run previously, but it fails where it passed before. We keep track of that over time, and we are able to replay those tasks where we say, okay, this task failed, but it does have some history of flakes. Let's try running it again on a different agent just to see if we have better luck the second time. And it does that while CI is running without you having to intervene. Every workspace has flakes. We have a lot in a couple of our repos, and this makes it where we can actually just choose which flakes are really important to address, which I'll look later on how you can do that using our analytics. And then the most recent big feature we've added to the platform is CI fixing, self-healing CI fixes. So this takes everything NX knows. Again, I'm going to talk a lot about NX just knows your workspace so deeply. So I'm sorry if you get tired of hearing that, but that's kind of the special sauce is we know the graphs. We have graphs on graphs on graphs of how things work together in your workspace and the history of the workspace. And we use all this context to feed into AI to say, here's the task that failed. Here's the code that was changed. Here's whatever other context we can give to it so that we get back from it a fix that actually is higher likelihood of working. But we don't just propose the fix and say, hope for the best. We actually will validate the fix as your CI is still running. So you don't have to do anything. If something breaks, we'll tell you it broke, but we're working on a fix. And then it's going to fix it for you, test it to make sure that it passes, and then say, hey, this works. Do you want to accept it? And then you're good to go. You could even set it to automatically be accepted for things like we do lint checks that we do automatically accept because it's somewhat low risk. But that's been that's been something that's really had a big effect for our customers. So it's not just a bunch of features side by side. These features all work together to help the next step. First, you filter out what's affected. You replay the tasks that can be replayed. You split up the monolithic tasks to a more distributed level. You distribute all the tasks and all the atomized tasks across agents that we've also provisioned for you based on the size of the change and other things that you can configure. We deflake for you automatically, so you don't even have to go back to CI when it's deflaking. It'll still run while CI is still running. And then we'll fix whatever's actually broken for you. And so these things all lead together to improve all the things like metrics we looked at in the previous slide. All are tied to this. Reduce frustration, I care about because I'm a developer, and if you're frustrated, everything else is impacted by it. But you also get faster feedback loops without the context switches. And there's some studies, you can trust me, you can trust Heidi that these stats are correct, that 45 minutes get lost when you're interrupted from doing something. So when you move from that feature A to feature B, it may be just a couple minutes you're going back and forth, but to get back in flow, get back in the context, and to give the proper focus on the next thing, there's a significant time lost. And they also cause 2 to 4 hours of delay in your time to green when a PR gets ready to merge. And these kinds of things compound as your team gets larger. The longer it takes to validate something, the more the merge queue starts to stack up, and you kind of get a traffic jam for developers. But what the positive effects of this are, as you start to think of CI as a really close to instant as possible and a really lightweight operation, you start to do things differently as a team. You'll start making smaller, more focused pull requests that really just do one thing at a time, rather than having to put a bunch of things together in one pull request, because you know that it's going to take a while, so you may as well get a bunch of things running at the same time. And it also makes it where you can add more checks to your PR validation that maybe you would have run on a job once a day, like end-to-end test suites that are really big. Now you can actually run them on every PR, so you catch a defect much earlier in the process. And there's some studies about how there's an exponential growth of the cost of fixing a defect based on when you catch it. Catching it before development is ideal. Catching it while you're developing is the next best of that. But then catching something in testing is worse, and then production is way worse. So by having higher quality checks on your pull requests, and by having the ability to make more small pull requests that will still run and be mergeable, the team really starts to change, both in just being happier in how things are working, but also just being able to focus on work and not worry about babysitting PRs.
Jeff, I can give you a break on talking if you want a sip of water. So Jeff, thank you. You just explained the value that the individual developer receives. I want to talk about the value that the entire business can receive when they utilize the NX platform. Time to market is a huge one that we focus on with our customers. Everybody's wanting to get to market faster. Competition is massive. AI is helping people go fast. And so everyone's trying to stay ahead of the curve. When it comes to time to market, when we can reduce the friction in the development process, therefore we're increasing the developer's velocity, it's helping your company get your products out faster. So this allows you to stay competitive. You can capitalize on your market opportunities, everything that you're looking to achieve. We increase developers' output. So NX is truly amazing at helping organizations build world-class processes for their engineering teams. By reducing the disruptions in the daily life, we're enabling their engineers to increase their velocity, increase their outputs. We see customers who are having 1.5 additional PRs per developer per week. in their process just by like some initial adoption of NX. So you can improve your dev workflows and decrease that friction. This is also helping our customers recruit some top talent and retain their engineers as well. We're future-proofing your code base for scale, especially when we think about AI and the contributions that's bringing to these massive growing code bases. NX's capabilities ensure that your developers' workflows can scale without becoming too cumbersome, right? We just walked through the self-healing, identifying flakes, providing fixes. So this protects the business investment in your tech stack and enables you to continuously innovate without being too concerned about the complexities that are going to grow within that code base. And then the last piece is observability. So we hear that it can be incredibly challenging to identify where to focus your time and attention on what problem to solve, what process to enhance, what pipeline needs to be optimized. So we're helping you prioritize the right improvements at the right time by giving you this visibility into our analytics. So looking at things like time to green, developer time saved, flaky task analytics, we're providing leadership and other engineers with the data to have that visibility to know where to create some efficiency. So we're going to walk you through what our analytics dashboards look like. Jeff gave you a little teaser earlier, but we want to be a part of, helping you make those decisions and ensure you're working on the right optimizations.
Yep. There's always something to be improved. I think it's a Peter Drucker quote that what gets measured gets managed, right?
Oh, I love that.
I'll say so. It sounds like something Drucker would say.
But it's hard,
Yeah.
right? It's hard to get that visibility. And this is something we've put a ton of effort into recently because the ask was so high from our customer base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm really happy with what we got and the feedback loops we've got on our own product to keep making the analytics more powerful, surfacing more information that's actionable. So let's look at some real world examples. And the first one, this is the one that that is only getting that 30%. They're getting a great savings from cache hits, like 6 hours, 5 minutes per PR, but they're not getting any of these other three colored dots up here, the distributed execution, the fixes, and the deflaking. And this one is another example, just to show there's a lot, like every workspace is different and takes advantage of things in different ways. Cache does have a big impact, and distributed execution is having an impact. And you can start to see that self-healing deflaking is starting to come into use in this workspace. They're doing a pretty good job of keeping the flakes low, and whatever ones remain, we will rerun for you. And this one is a workspace with lots of flakes. And this is just a fact of life for a lot of workspaces. The more dynamic your testing process is, the more likely you're going to have some flakes. But NX comes in, and these graphs represent the time saved by NX for deflaking. So these are actually where NX intercepted and was able to restore, to save a CI run basically without having to rerun it because it was just some flakes. And this one's a little bit more balanced. We've got some deflaking there, we've got some cache, and we've got some distribution. And this one is more balanced, but using self-healing fixes. So you've still got the cache, you've got the distribution, and you've got our CI that's providing fixes. And we've been rolling this out to more of our customers, the self-healing fixes, and the results are just incredible, if I do say so. But it's one of those features where it's like, we wondered, whenever we build something new, we try to think like, okay, are we the best people to build this? Like, could someone build a better version of this thing than us? If so, really, should we pursue it? And this was one of those things where we were like, maybe. And so we built it and we started using it ourselves, and it was surprisingly accurate, especially compared to like if we did DIY solution, just going straight to an LLM and giving it the context that it has. We were seeing a higher success rate. And so we just kept iterating on it. And it's now a super effective tool to a lot of the time. It's giving me the right fix if I actually wrote code. Like I occasionally do. Here's that cool graph that I had a screenshot of earlier, but just to show you like interactive. I love just going through and seeing like these tiny little atomized tasks that get slotted in whenever there's some space. But I actually want to look at other parts of our analytics in our new analytics dashboard. This is actually the NX open source repo. And you can see we've got a decent balance of deflaking. I said we have lots of flakes and self-healing fixes and cache. And every workspace looks different what the ratios are. Let's see actually if I can show, or let's show the time to green. So you can see a graph of how your time to green changes over time. And because NX runs are so dynamic, no two are the same, it's going to vary, but you can see trends based on this. And we can see the developer time saved similar to the time to green improvement that's showing overall. Like time to green is really when your PR first becomes ready to merge, it first becomes green. And this is overall. If you're rerunning the CI for that PR, then we'll also keep optimizing everything else about the workflow for you. You can even see the context switch cost, like how many fewer context switches there were because of having to go back. And we use some data to inform this, and so it's not an exact science, but it gives you an idea how you're trending. And then this other cool new view, which is available for our enterprise customers, is you can see the flaky tasks plotted out on a graph where we give them a different priority level, which is green, yellow, or red, based on how often the task flakes and then how many times that task is run. So if we look up here, this red guy, it's a really flaky task, 63%, and it's been run 84 times. But let's click in on that. You can see that's actually a pretty quick task, and overall, over this time period, it's only wasted 15 minutes. So if I were to say I'm going to spend a week deflaking a bunch of tasks, this probably wouldn't be one of the top ones. But if I go down here and I look for something that maybe wastes a little more time, let's see. Oh, end-to-end tests are always a good culprit for flakes. So this one did actually waste an hour and 49 minutes of rerunning. Even if we're saving you having to go back to PR, it's still time that's being spent. And still we could say, okay, we want to address why this is flaky if it is easily addressable, or just accept that it's going to keep on wasting some compute time. And so this is great new information where you're able to do a lot more. I won't go into the whole analytics view because we've got to be cognizant of time and we want to leave some time for Q&A, but get in there if you've already got your cloud set up, and click around and see what you've got, and let us know what else you'd like to see.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you for walking through that, Jeff. I'm always excited about the analytics, and a shameless plug for sales. We work with our customers to walk through those dashboards. We help you identify the areas we believe you should focus on, and we try to be a guiding partner in that activity until you create a good habit yourselves, or we can continue to be that guiding partner for you. But let us know how we can help you. We'd love to connect. We'd love to, continue to engage with you all. We can send you some self-service content. We've got tons of documentation. We've got lots of recordings. We've got a wonderful YouTube channel. We're happy to send over any resources that would be interesting to you all. If you want to reach out to us, throw it in the chat. We would love to see, what content you're looking for.
I think we actually have a poll for this too.
Yeah, we probably do. I didn't see it pop up. There we go.
Philip was just waiting. He's trigger ready. I'm waiting for you.
I didn't mention the poll. So we'd love to know what type of self-serve content you would want, but also we're happy to engage that way. We do NX workshops. So we've provided a couple of public workshops. We're also happy to do personalized workshops. We can, in the personalized one, take a look at your repo, give some guidance and advice, assess what might be going on there. In a public workshop, it'll be a deeper dive into what you're seeing here, ways to actually adopt these features, utilize them, outcomes you could expect, with some nice homework and to-dos that we think you and your team should go practice. NX Labs is our professional services work. So if you do have a specific project, regardless of size, we can do really small workspace engagements, a 2 to 4 hour type of engagement, all the way up to, we work with large enterprises working through all of their circular dependencies, decoupling, refactoring. So a variety of different professional services that we're happy to engage with you on. And then we've got our enterprise solutions. So The platform that we just walked you through, those features live across a couple different pricing tiers. And we're happy to reach out to you about what it would look like to engage in a user model with us, adopt the right tier for you based on what you're trying to solve for. And we can walk you through a demo of that tier, and also give you some baseline metrics of where you and your engineering team are at today, and then how NX would improve those metrics through a proof of value to again assess the right pricing tier for you all. So let us know how to engage, and we're happy to do that. Also, suggestions on content is always welcome.
Yeah.
What do we see? What are people wanting?
All right. Well, thank you very much for both of you and sharing what you had there. We're going to leave this poll open for how can we help you until the end here. So feel free to jump in there and add as many categories as you'd like to see. But we're going to start the Q&A now. So again, if you open up that little Q&A box down at the bottom, we should start to see some questions roll in there. You can add them as we continue to talk. But while we're waiting on other folks from the audience to kind of come in, I wanted to ask, with the time to green metric that we're talking about, can you dig in just like a little bit more detail there and like why time to green versus time to merge?
Yeah, great question. The simplest answer is it's what we can control. So there's still time to green is basically everything short of a human putting their stamp of approval on a pull request. And there are other tools like a graphite diamond is a popular one that helps make that process easier. But for most teams, there still is a human requirement before something gets merged. And so we make everything as fast as we can up to that point. And one of the nice things about the compounding effect is as you start to build the habits of making smaller pull requests, smaller commits, those become a lot easier to review. They're a lot easier to reason about for one person instead of having to look at a bunch of changes lumped together. And they start to build the habit of quickly looking at a pull request, making sure it makes sense and approving it because the time to green gets better and these positive habits emerge.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And one of the other behavior changes that I've seen from folks is like there is an idea of like, oh, I got my thing done at the end of the day. I'll just push it, and then a CI will run like overnight, and then hopefully it's ready for me when I come in the morning. Like when you get that time to green faster, you get into a habit of like pushing those more regularly, just like you were talking about, and then the reviews happen more quickly. So
Yeah.
like both on the
And
reviewers and also on the developers.
there's no shame in that if you're pushing things at night, but we want to help you get away from that. There are great reasons why we've ended up in the situations we're in, and every code base has its quirks. But we want to make it where you can. There is a better life if you choose to accept it.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions that are coming in from the audience. So, how does the self-healing fix compare to using Copilot or Claude Code?
So you would still use those as the authoring tool, and we provide an MCP that gives a lot of the NX context to those tools, so they can be even more effective, especially as your code base grows and gets more complicated. In terms of like if you could build your own self-healing situation, which a lot of people have done, and like a lot of our customers had done before we had this, and now are using this. You're not going to get the same level of effectiveness. And we're actually building out some benchmarks. Yuri on our team is building out a side by side because we're actually a Claude Code, a Claude agent. I forget what they're called, but like we were using Claude Code underneath. But he's building a benchmark where if you directly use Claude Code and try to get the same results, the experience is just that we're correct more often. So like us layering on top, using Claude Code in conjunction with everything else we can do to plan a change, just makes the success rate a lot higher to where their team will actually use it and get in the habit of trusting it more often.
Right. Yeah, and I'll add to that just that we have when AI gets you like 80% of the way there, we have a apply fix locally feature that allows you to get the self-healing fix pulled down to your local environment. So it's like that's not quite right, but it's close enough. And I can make like the last few edits. So you're able to like really
Yeah,
quickly
that's
pull
right.
that fix in and just like finish it up yourself, rather than only having like self-healing like in your CI and it's applying commits directly. You can sort of intercept that change and start to make the changes.
And that's another
Um,
good plug for our enterprise solution that we find these ways to quickly improve the product because we work so closely with our enterprise customers and see, okay, why are you getting these good fixes and you're not accepting them right away? Oh, it's because there's always some little tweak, or maybe like 10% of the time there's some little change you want to add to what has been done for you, and we've done most of the work. So minimizing the cost of the context switch if you actually do want to change something.
yeah, absolutely. Um, this should be a quick one. Does NX work with GitHub Actions?
Yeah, we use it with GitHub Actions. It actually, we can run basically everything that starts with running NX and like built running NX tasks. We can handle all that, but we're triggered from whatever your developer platform is, GitHub, GitLab, Atlassian. Like we have first class integrations for GitHub, GitLab. I don't want to say the other ones. I think we might have, but maybe haven't released. But it's really easy to integrate with anything, but we usually start by having the first integration of new things we do in GitHub and then bring it to other platforms.
Mhm.
But you can run it anywhere, even if we don't have a first class integration. You just get the conveniences of like the pull request comments and interactivity without having to go to our UI if we do have a first class integration.
Mhm. Right. Moving right along here. From Bruce, we've got a question on curious what exactly the infrastructure healing is doing. What are the types of problems it can fix? And I'm going to make just an assumption that they're talking about like the self-healing CI there.
Yeah. Sorry, where can I see the question? I just want to make sure I answer it
If you
correctly.
open up the Q&A box, you should be able to see it too.
Let's, uh, let's go here. Okay. Why exactly the infrastructure healing is doing, what are the types of problems it can fix. So any type of problem that really anything that is within NX's purview, uh, if it's, I don't know the right way to say it, like it can fix most anything that could be inferred by someone coming to your code base, like a pretty senior engineer coming to your code base for the first time without the full background and context of all the nuance of your workspace, but with a lot more than you would get just by looking at code. Uh, we can fix to that level. So anything that like that's really what we're trying to bring to the table is making AI promote from like a junior engineer to a senior engineer who understands the whole context of the system instead of just some localized block of text or block of
Hmm.
code that the coding assistants usually get.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know if this would help, but do you have any examples in the NX repo of some self-healing fixes? Or it's okay if not off the top of your head or
Philip, do
think.
you got one? Philip just did a
I,
screenshot of one. So which one did you do a screenshot?
that one came out of the NX repo, and I don't know if I could find it again, but I know some of the fixes that we put in. Like there's sort of like tiers of effectiveness, and so like the things that it is most effective at are the things where it's like I forgot to run my format for my code at the end of this, or I forgot to regenerate my jest snapshots, or things along those lines, where what you're missing is really like you forgot to run a task at the end of your day. And so with the self-healing CI, it can detect that that task failed, I can just like rerun this other task that it depends on to make sure that everything is correct again. And we even offer like there's like an automatically fix that class of problem where it's like, okay, yeah, format. I don't need to like re-review that. I'm just going to apply the commit because it's just running a task and we know that. And you can configure which tasks you're comfortable with it fixing like that. So that's sort of the things that I have seen. Yuri was sharing a similar example where if you are using NPM workspaces and you need to rerun the sync command to be able to define the dependencies between different libraries or applications that are depending on those libraries, like that's another one that it can just kind of like run that command and throw them back in. I have seen it personally, like in the code that I am committing, like if something fails, it can specifically like when I'm contributing documentation or articles, it can actually pick up on, hey, we ran our link checker and that link failed. I think it should be this one. And that's a case where it's like doing that, like pull it down to local. Like you were really close, but like this is exactly where it needs to go. And I can make that quick adjustment and push it up. But out of 10 failures, it took care of 9 of them for me, and I was able to finish like that last one. So those are the changes that I'm familiar with. But I am like Jeff. I probably classified as a former engineer, which is a surprise at this point in my career, but here we are. So I think it can definitely fix a lot. And I think the common refrain that I hear from our engineers internally who dog food it was like, wow, I didn't think it'd get that one. And so there are some good examples. And the great part is like all of this is public. Because we develop NX as an open source tool, you don't have to wait for me to find an example to share it with you. You can go to our repo right now. All of those comments are public. You'll see a comment from the self-healing CI that says, hey, here's the fix. And then you can click right into it to go to our public NX Cloud instance, and it'll show you what the fix looks like.
Yeah, and I'm sure within time we'll have more analytics into that. But one of the key things is like we're looking at the change at hand, not just your whole code base. So we are able to use that to figure out like how to localize whatever fixes might need to be made. Like if it's a test that you didn't update to do the right thing, that's kind of the next tier. It's not that difficult to do, but so we do that for you. But if there are it can also handle logic issues and a whole variety of issues. But it's what we can solve with context and planning in conjunction with Claude Code is the kind of thing it can solve.
All right. So Heidi grabbed this question from Josephine, who put this in the chat. What's the best practice of using NX Workspace for a project that has an Angular front end and a Java and Python back end?
Okay. Madeline, you want to take this one? No, I'm just kidding.
You don't want me to take this one.
Sorry, that was rude. I didn't mean to.
You got to add some humor in here.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate you thought that I could take it.
You got to dig on me at least once to make us even. So there are lots of best practices. One is it's great to have both in the same repo. That's one of the strengths of a mono repo, which I would call that a mono repo because you've got multiple projects together. But one of the things is it's nice that you can have atomic commits across both your backend and front at the same time. So if you are breaking something, like breaking an API, then you're fixing it at the same time that you're breaking it. So that's your code base is evergreen without having any of this version mismatch where things might not work together that you would get if they were in separate repos. In terms of like best practices, I don't know if there's any specific to this problem other than like let NX run the tasks for everything, and we have support for different different Java tools, and there is community Python support, and that's something we're focusing more on. But if you're using NX, you don't have to have a plugin to run any Java command or Python command with NX. You just tell us the command to run and where the files go, and we'll do the rest for you. We'll still do the caching, the distribution, and optimizations. So let NX manage the coordination of the builds, and if I think of anything else, or if you want to ask us in Discord or something, then I'm sure other folks will have more thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great plug for our Discord community. Lots of folks are discussing like what they're doing and best practices. And so if you want to dig into not just what we're saying in a documentation, but what actual folks in the community who are using this on a day-to-day basis, check the Discord and ask some questions there. Given that we just talked about Java a little bit, I actually want to jump ahead to a question from Drew Hawken, who says, we have a 1.6 million line Java app that is a monolith. Our builds take 25 minutes in CI and end-to-end tests take forever, a very scientific measure. We currently use Jenkins slash GitHub, but we use GitHub Actions everywhere else. Where do you see NX helping us?
Yeah, so you could look at our own configuration with GitHub Actions to see like we kick off the main job in GitHub Actions, and then when it comes to like so we'll do the setup, setting up, kicking the job off, setting up npm, and then farming out the tasks to NX agents. And so it's like you've still got the things like if you got tooling built around your GitHub Actions flow or your Jenkins flow or whatever, that you'll still get fed the output from our actions or from our agents, but we're doing all the magic for you. So instead of GitHub, and instead of most CI providers where you configure somewhat, I don't know the terminology for GitHub workflows, you'll configure some kind of pipeline or workflow. With NX, it's really you just tell it the affected commands to run in CI, and you don't need to define any kind of pipeline order or run this job only sometimes. Like we just figure out all that for you, and you can give us some help to figure out how big of machine pools should we create, what size machines do you want to use, but you do a lot less configuration, hand off the work to us. You get a better developer experience than you would otherwise, because I don't want to go too far selling like the features of the next cloud, but you do get that task level awareness and task level logs and things where you're able to see more granularly what went wrong, where did it go wrong, let's jump right to that log, things that other generic tools have a hard time doing. So we work with every CI platform and every developer platform just the same.
Yeah, and if we want to talk about hard numbers, I'll link this article. I'll actually send that to everyone and not just the hosts and panelists, because everyone needs to see this. And we'll include this in a follow-up email. But we actually developed our Gradle plugin for NX against the Spring Boot repo because we wanted a real-world example to be able to run the plugin against to make sure that we were actually improving things. And so when we were able to, we forked the Spring Boot repo, converted it to use NX. We were actually able to reduce the CI times that they had from an hour and 44 minutes to 42 minutes, which is close to a 60% reduction. So we can take existing Java workspaces and speed them up tremendously. This was actually the number, these stats were collected back in May when we released NX21. We just released NX22, which also includes even more performance improvements. So we should probably go back and like double check that number to see just how low we can get that number. But definitely a benefit. The monorepo approach that Jeff talked about is a big benefit with having your front end and your back end in the same repo. But even just for like those Java workspaces, we can also help you get things faster.
Yeah. And when you think about it, everything's a monorepo, but we won't get into philosophy. But the way we talk about it is a lot more general. It's more like things living together versus one repo ruled them all for the whole company.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, another great example of enterprise, like that's how we start off all our enterprise relationships is let's get the solution running completely for you, but then let's look at how we can optimize it, like change configuration, maybe change the layout of your workspace and get things faster. But a lot of what Phillips is talking about is like didn't require changes to the code base. We just took it as it was and we're able to make it faster pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. I think we've kind of answered some of this question, but can I use my own runners or do we have to use NX's runners? And we kind of talked about that when we were talking about GitHub Actions of you can use GitHub Action runners or you can use the runners that are available in NX Cloud or Circle CI or Jenkins. We have multiple different examples on our website of how you can use those.
Yeah. So we have our NX Agents product that is part of the platform that does everything for you in terms of provisioning the right machines, the right machine pool size, and distributing work across that. You can do what we call manual distributed task execution, still using NX and use other runners. We just can't, but it's up to you to provision the machines and get the right pool size, the right machine types, things that we just do automatically for you that you can
Yeah.
do on your own. If yeah, so and also for enterprise customers, we are able to do NX agents fully, like get the full provisioning experience running on other clouds other than using
Hmm.
ours by having on-prem deployments. So if that's a situation you're in, reach out. It's pretty common for us.
Yeah. Um, I want to talk about that a little bit. Our CTO, Victor, just released this video on YouTube that talks about NX as a build platform. And one of the things that he goes into is that with NX, your CI configuration doesn't grow over time because you no longer have to figure out like how to parallelize things or like assign agent pools or have them grow over time according to the complexity. Your CI configuration becomes here's the work that needs to be done. Here's where I want to deploy. And then NX kind of takes care of the rest of that. So the complexity of like, I need to like build this in this order, or I need to use these tools. All of that remains in the NX side of the house, rather than your pipelines continuing to grow and grow and get more complex until nobody actually knows what's going on in them anymore. That complexity goes way down.
Yeah, and another great plug, like if you've not tried it in CI yet, but you're already in NX Workspace, like ask us for a trial. We'll give you a trial of the whole platform experience where you can just say, okay, let's maybe run it side by side with your regular CI pipeline and see how the results are different, and we'll give some help too on how to best make use of that.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And we've just got like a few minutes here. Um, and I want to say we're going to answer this one question here. We're newish to NX, so still getting onboarded, but how much of a lift is it to adapt our current pipelines to use these features? Since you were just talking about like if you haven't tried it, let's dig into like what does it look like? How much work is it actually to try NX?
So it's a great question, and the most everything we do in NX, we make it where it can be incrementally adopted, and it's the same with this. Is you can carve out part of your CI pipeline to say, okay, let's keep mostly everything the same, but let's run this part on NX and see how it fits in, and if you like it, you can expand it to gradually give more over to NX because
Hmm.
there's always something other than NX happening in CI, and so it's never like we want to completely take over everything. We're always fitting into other platforms.
Hmm. Madeline, do you want to jump in on like how our team can help you with this process?
Yeah, I was just going to add some estimated timelines. So typically when we work with customers through their proof of value and trial experience, that's about a 2 to 4 week process to see initial improvements on a few pipelines, get some performance gains, CI time goes down, time to green starts to be impacted in a positive way. So within a month, you'll see some small gains. And I would say within 3 months, most all features are adopted. And you are seeing gains on each feature. But again, because NX is so intelligent and aware of your workspace, the more you're utilizing it, the more gains you're going to receive over time. And what we typically see after those 3 months is customers then start to have more runs in their um, workflows, but they're seeing efficiencies on every run. So compute's going down, runs are going up. That's where you get that velocity gain. And that's usually about after the 3 month mark, you'll start to see that full potential.
Hmm.
And by the way, the 3 months is another indication of NX being incrementally adoptable. Like it could be, you
Yeah.
could just like spend a week or two, like just going all out on optimizing things and be done like, with a much better performance.
Yeah.
But because it's hard to sometimes justify spending full time making something faster for a bit. It's most customers kind of fit it into the rest of their workload and take a little time addressing the highest priority thing one by one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think 2 to 4 weeks is a very accurate expectation to see initial adoption and gains.
Mhm.
Or Philip could do it overnight.
Maybe with a little help from from my good buddy Claude. Um, so we have one more question left in the queue, talking about tasks for lint steps using ESLint, OXLint, and type checking, and trying to group those together. And that is a great question to send into the Discord, like I was talking about. That is where you will see people with like really deep technical skills be able to like work through that with you. And similarly, I saw a couple people in the chat maybe asking some things that were about really specific error messages, and that's just something that's going to be better for like Discord, or even if you're currently a cloud customer, send that into support or ask your DPE if you have a relationship with one. And because we're at the top of the hour, I just want to say thank you again to Jeff and Madeline for providing your expertise here. I want to thank everyone who has attended for being able to show up and share your precious time with us. And then in the background, thanking Caitlin Cashin and Heidi, who also help organize these webinars on a monthly basis and keep Jeff on track. So thank you
Yeah,
very
yeah,
much.
they do all the work. Heidi especially. Big shout out to Heidi.
Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a good
Thank
one.
you, Philip.
Thanks,
Thank
Philip.
you. Bye.
Bye.